the vast battleship of Fleet Commander Daiho hung silently in the darkness of space. From his position on the command deck, he studied the blue-green planet below with all four of his eyes. The world the Raxians had once classified as primitive now glowed with city lights across its night side, while satellites orbited like tiny metal moons. "Commander, analysis is complete," reported Science Officer Jaiwoo, approaching with a data tablet. Her scales shimmered slightly under the ship's lights as she handed him the report. Daiho scrolled through the information, his outer eyes widening in surprise. "This cannot be correct. Check the time markers again." "I've verified the data 3 times, sir," Jaiwoo replied. "This planet, they call it Earth, has advanced technologically at a rate 17 times faster than any civilization we've ever encountered." The commander stood and walked to the viewing portal. The Raxian Empire had conquered thousands of worlds across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. Their method was always the same: identify developing worlds, monitor until they reached early space travel capability, then arrive with overwhelming force. The primitives always surrendered quickly. But this world was different. "What concerns me most," continued Jaiwoo, "is their weapons technology. They have developed over 300 distinct weapons classifications in just the last century." "A planet of warriors?" asked Daiho. "Unknown, sir. But their history shows they seem constantly engaged in what they call arms races between their nation-states." Captain Tae-hee, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. "Sir, with respect, the standard protocol is clear. We should begin the invasion immediately while we maintain technological superiority." Daiho turned away from the viewport. "How long ago did we last scan this system?" 206 galactic standard years, answered Jaiwoo. "And in that time, they've gone from primitive combustion engines to nuclear power, space travel, and global communication networks?" "Yes, Commander. Their rate of development is unprecedented." Daiho touched a control panel, bringing up images of Earth's cities, vehicles, and most troublingly, their military installations. The humans had weapons that, while primitive by Raxian standards, showed remarkable innovation and variety. "Look at these designs," he said, pointing to various aircraft and missile systems. "Each nation on the planet has developed different approaches to the same problems. It's inefficient, but it's led to more innovation than our standardized military has seen in 1,000 years." The bridge fell silent as the implications became clear. "What do you suggest, Commander?" asked Tae-hee, her voice betraying concern. Daiho made a decision that would change galactic history. "Prepare a diplomatic team. We will not approach these beings with our standard invasion protocol." "Sir?" "The Emperor expects." "The Emperor expects intelligent decisions, Captain. I sense something unusual about this world. Something dangerous." The command crew exchanged nervous glances as Daiho continued studying the images from Earth. Later that day, Daiho stood in his private chamber as a hologram of Emperor Juno appeared before him. "You've delayed the invasion," stated the Emperor. Not a question, but an accusation. Daiho bowed. "My Emperor, I request permission to attempt diplomatic contact first." "Explain." "This world has developed at an abnormal rate. Their weapons technology, while still inferior to ours, shows innovations our military scientists have never considered. I believe there may be more value in studying them than conquering them immediately." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "You find these primitives impressive?" "I find them concerning, my Emperor. They seem fixated on creating weapons. The entire planet appears to be one massive weapons forge. Even their civilian technologies often have military origins." This caught the Emperor's interest. A species naturally inclined toward weapon development? Perhaps. Or perhaps their divided nature has forced rapid innovation. Either way, I believe a standard invasion could result in unnecessary damage to valuable knowledge. After a long silence, the Emperor nodded. "Very well, Commander. Send your diplomatic team. Learn what you can about these weapon makers. But prepare your fleet for invasion should diplomacy fail." The hologram vanished, leaving Daiho alone with his thoughts. The next morning, Daiho addressed the selected diplomatic team led by Ambassador Miho. Your mission is to learn everything you can about human weapons technology and their innovation methods. We need to understand how they develop so quickly. Miho bowed. And if they ask why we're interested in their weapons, tell them we admire their creativity. It's not entirely untrue, Daiho replied. Remember, these humans have never encountered alien life. They will be frightened, curious, and potentially dangerous. As the diplomatic shuttle prepared to depart for Earth, Daiho watched from the command deck. For the first time in his long career, he faced a species that made him uneasy. Not because they were currently stronger than the Raxians, but because of what they might become. May the stars guide you, he whispered, an old Raxian blessing. As the shuttle began its descent toward the blue planet below, Ambassador Miho adjusted his environment suit as the Raxian diplomatic team prepared to meet with Earth's United Nations Security Council. Though Earth's atmosphere was breathable for his species, protocol demanded protection during first contact situations. Behind him, cultural specialist Sungo nervously checked his translation device. Remember, Miho told his team, we are here to learn, not to judge or reveal our concerns. The doors to the grand meeting hall opened. Representatives from Earth's most powerful nations turned to stare at the 7-foot-tall, blue-scale aliens with their 4 eyes and slender builds. The human security guards tensed, hands near their weapons. Miho bowed slightly, a gesture they had learned was common among humans. We bring greetings from the Raxian Empire. We thank you for this opportunity to understand your world and share knowledge. After the formal introductions, the real work began. The Raxians were given tours of major cities, research facilities, and cultural landmarks. But what they saw deeply troubled them. They have how many nuclear weapons? Asked Miho later that evening in their secure quarters. Cultural specialist Sungo consulted his datapad. Enough to destroy their own planet several times over. And yet they continue to build more. Military analyst Taehyun shook his head in disbelief. Their history is just warfare. I've studied their records. From the moment these humans could write things down, they documented their conflicts. Some nations have been fighting each other for thousands of years. It's as if they cannot help themselves, added Sungo. They create amazing art and music, then use the same creativity to design more efficient killing tools. Junior scientist Jihai had been quiet, but now she spoke up. I think we misunderstand them. Today I watched children in a place called a school. They solve problems differently than we do. Where we seek the single correct answer, they explore many possible solutions. What does this have to do with weapons? Asked Miho. Everything, said Jihai. They don't see themselves as weapon makers, but as problem solvers. Their constant competition drives innovation. Look at how they develop jet engines to drop bombs more efficiently, but now use those same engines for peaceful travel. Their global communication network began as a military contingency but evolved into something that connects their entire species. The room fell silent as they considered this perspective. Their constant warfare forces rapid adaptation, Taehyun admitted. It's horrifying but effective. Miho's communication device chimed with an urgent message from Commander Daiho. He stepped away to take the call. The Emperor is concerned, said Daiho's holographic image. Our scans show defensive systems that shouldn't be possible for their development stage. How are they progressing so quickly? Sir, it appears to be their competitive nature, replied Miho. Their planet is divided into nations that constantly compete. This creates a form of evolutionary pressure on their technology. Are they a threat? Miho hesitated. Not yet. But given their rate of progress? The Emperor wants more detailed information about their weapons capabilities, Daiho said. He is particularly interested in their innovation methods. After ending the communication, Miho rejoined his team. We need to learn more about their military technology. The next day, during a tour of what humans called a technology expo, the Raxians saw firsthand the scope of human innovation. Devices for communication, transportation, medicine, and entertainment filled massive halls. But even here, military influence was evident. This material was developed for body armor, explained a human scientist, showing them a flexible fabric. Now we use it in hiking clothes and firefighter uniforms. And this navigation system? Asked Taehyun, pointing to a small device. Originally for missile guidance, the scientist answered proudly. Now it helps people find restaurants. Later, they were shown a research facility where scientists worked on experimental aircraft. The designs were unlike anything in the Raxian military, strange shapes that seemed to defy aerodynamic logic. Why this unusual shape? Asked Miho. Stealth capability, explained the human guide. It scatters detection signals. That evening, Miho received another message, this time from Emperor Juno himself. The humans must not realize how much they are revealing, said the Emperor. We need complete data on their weapons systems. My Emperor, I believe direct questioning would raise suspicion, Miho replied carefully. Then we will gather information through other means. Captain Hyunki and a stealth team will arrive tomorrow. Continue your diplomatic mission as cover. After the communication ended, Miho stared out the window at the busy human city. Lights glowed in countless windows, vehicles moved along crowded streets, and in the distance, aircraft lights blinked across the night sky. They create so much, he whispered to himself. But how much of it was born from their desire to destroy each other? In his reports back to the fleet, Miho included one personal observation: the most dangerous thing about humans may not be their weapons, but their relentless drive to improve them. They never seem satisfied with what they have created. Captain Hyunki led his stealth team through the darkened corridors of the human military facility. Their adaptive camouflage suits bent light around them, making them nearly invisible to human eyes. The 4 Raxian operatives moved silently, their footsteps making no sound on the polished floors. Security systems disabled, whispered Operative Unjae through their secure communication link. We have 20 minutes before the system resets. Hyunki nodded, though his team couldn't see the gesture. According to their intelligence, this facility housed some of Earth's most advanced weapons technology. The Emperor wanted detailed scans and, if possible, small samples to analyze. Sir, you need to see this, whispered Unjae, gesturing toward a massive hangar they had just reached. Inside, bright lights illuminated a large open space where human engineers worked on a sleek aircraft unlike anything they had seen before. Its surface was dark and angular, with unusual protrusions along the wings. Hyunki activated his scanner, capturing detailed images and technical data. According to their specifications, this craft could potentially penetrate our destroyer shields, he said quietly. The implications were disturbing. Across the planet, other Raxian teams made similar discoveries: theoretical weapons, defense systems, and technologies that seemed aimed at space warfare. They're preparing for us, Unjae suggested. But how could they know? Perhaps they prepare for everything, replied Hyunki. Meanwhile, at the diplomatic summit, tensions were growing. The human representatives had begun to notice the Raxians' particular interest in their military capabilities. Ambassador Miho, began the American representative during that day's meeting, your delegation has requested tours of 3 more military research facilities. Why are your people so interested in our defense systems? Miho struggled to maintain his composed diplomatic demeanor. Simple curiosity about your technological development path. We find your innovation processes fascinating. Yet you've shown little interest in our medical research or agricultural advances, noted the Chinese representative. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Only our weapons. We value all knowledge, Miho replied smoothly. But yes, your defensive technologies show remarkable creativity. That evening, in the Raxian temporary embassy, Miho received disturbing news from Commander Daeho. Our intelligence teams have discovered something alarming, said the commander's hologram. The humans appear to be developing what could only be classified as a planet-killer weapon. Impossible, gasped Miho. They barely have space travel. The evidence suggests otherwise. A massive energy project in a place called Nevada. The power readings are consistent with our theoretical models for planetary destruction weapons. What the Raxians didn't understand was that the facility was actually an experimental fusion reactor, a clean energy project, not a weapon at all. That night, against Miho's advice, a Raxian sabotage team attempted to disable what intelligence had identified as the control systems for this planet killer. The operation went disastrously wrong. Human security forces detected the alien intruders. Alarms blared throughout the research facility. In the confusion, a power conduit was damaged, causing a spectacular but fortunately non-lethal explosion. By morning, the news had spread worldwide. Aliens sabotage American energy project screamed the headlines. Video footage, though blurry, clearly showed the blue-scaled Raxians fleeing the scene. Miho was summoned to an emergency meeting of the Security Council. "This is an act of war," stated the American representative coldly. "Your people have been caught attempting to sabotage a peaceful energy project." "There must be some misunderstanding," Miho pleaded. "We came in peace." "Your interest in our weapons, your constant probing of our defenses." The Russian representative shook his head. "It seems clear your peaceful claims were a cover for military intelligence gathering." Earth's nations, previously fractious and often at odds with each other, suddenly united against a perceived alien threat. Military forces worldwide went on high alert. For the first time in human history, all nuclear powers agreed to coordinate their defense strategies. In his imperial throne room, Emperor Juno received the reports from Earth with growing alarm. "They are mobilizing their forces," reported Commander Deho's hologram. "And they're doing it with remarkable speed and coordination." "How advanced are their space-based defense systems?" asked the Emperor. "More advanced than they should be, given their technological level. It's as if they've been preparing for extraterrestrial conflict despite never having encountered alien life." The Emperor's four eyes narrowed in thought. "So the weapon forge is activating. They plan to use these weapons against us." "It appears so, my Emperor." Juno stood from his throne and walked to the star map displaying the position of Earth relative to the Empire. "We cannot allow these weapon masters to fully prepare. Their innovation rate suggests they could become a genuine threat within a decade." "What are your orders, Emperor?" "Recall the diplomatic team immediately. Authorize preemptive action. Commander Deho shall lead the fleet." As the order was transmitted across space to the waiting Raxian fleet, neither the Emperor nor his commanders understood how completely they had misinterpreted human civilization. What they saw as preparation for galactic warfare was simply humanity's pattern of preparing for unknown threats, a caution born from their fractious history. And now, that misunderstanding would lead to conflict. The Raxian battle fleet emerged from hyperspace, 50 warships arranged in perfect attack formation. Commander Deho stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching as the blue planet grew larger on the viewing screen. He had hoped diplomacy would succeed, but the Emperor's orders were clear: neutralize the human threat before it could fully develop. "Sir, we've detected unusual energy readings," reported Tactical Officer Donghe. His voice held a note of concern. "They've somehow deployed an orbital defense grid. These weren't here 3 days ago." Deho frowned. "How is that possible? Our intelligence indicated they had limited space construction capabilities." "Unknown, sir. But the grid appears operational." This was troubling. How had the humans prepared so quickly? Were they truly the weapon masters the Emperor feared? "Launch the first wave," ordered Deho. "Target their orbital defenses only. I want to test their capabilities before engaging ground targets." The first attack wave streaked toward Earth, 20 fighter craft designed to overwhelm planetary defenses. What happened next shocked everyone on the Raxian bridge. Earth's defensive response was immediate and unexpectedly effective. Satellites that had appeared civilian in nature suddenly revealed weapon systems. Ground-based lasers targeted the Raxian fighters with surprising accuracy. Within minutes, half the attack force had been disabled. "Impossible," whispered Donghe. "Their targeting systems shouldn't be that precise." Deho ordered the remaining fighters to retreat. "Prepare the destroyer group. We'll need more firepower." 3 Raxian destroyers moved forward, their main cannons charging. These weapons had subdued countless worlds throughout the galaxy. But again, the humans surprised them. From Earth's surface, multiple launch sites fired what appeared to be primitive missiles. The Raxian officers almost laughed at such outdated technology until the missiles suddenly changed course mid-flight, split into multiple warheads, and deployed countermeasures against Raxian defenses. One destroyer took a direct hit, its shields failing in a spectacular flash of light. "How did they penetrate our shields?" demanded Deho. "Those are simple chemical propulsion weapons." The science officer looked up from her instruments, her face pale. "They've somehow adapted their warheads to oscillate at the exact frequency of our shield harmonics. That should be technologically beyond them." The battle continued for several hours, with neither side gaining a clear advantage. The Raxians had superior firepower, but the humans showed remarkable adaptability, changing tactics rapidly as they learned from each engagement. During a lull in the fighting, a transmission came through on all Raxian frequencies. "This is Diplomat Jinwoo of Earth," said a calm human voice. "We don't want this conflict. We don't understand why you're attacking us." Against protocol, Deho accepted the communication. The face of a middle-aged human male appeared on the screen. "You attacked our research facility," Deho stated. "You have been developing weapons to use against our empire." Jinwoo's expression showed genuine confusion. "We didn't know your empire existed until your diplomatic team arrived. The facility your agents attacked was an experimental fusion reactor for clean energy." "Your entire civilization is built around weapons," continued Deho. "Your history is warfare. Your technology is designed for destruction." "No," said Jinwoo firmly. "We're not weapon makers. We're innovators who sometimes apply our creativity to defense. Our history forced us to adapt, to overcome challenges." Something in the human's tone made Deho pause. "Explain." "Look at our planet. We evolved as tribal creatures on a dangerous world with limited resources. Our divisions pushed us to compete, but also to create. We don't love weapons, we fear them enough to ensure deterrence." Deho considered this perspective. "Your rate of technological development is abnormal. Because we approach problems differently. Our competing nations tackle challenges from different angles. What you see as weapon obsession is actually thousands of different approaches to the same problems." For the first time, Deho considered a new possibility. Earth wasn't a weapon forge. It was an innovation engine. "Your orbital defenses," he said. "They weren't there 3 days ago." Jinwoo nodded. "After your agents attacked our facility, we repurposed communications satellites and weather platforms. We adapt quickly when threatened." Deho turned away from the screen, thinking deeply. The humans had never shown aggression toward the Raxians until provoked. Their weapons, while creative, were largely defensive in nature. And their rapid adaptation, the very thing that had frightened the Empire, might be their greatest strength. He made a decision that would change two civilizations forever. "Stand down all weapons," he ordered his fleet. "I believe we've made a terrible mistake." His officers looked shocked, but complied. Turning back to the screen, Deho addressed Jinwoo. "I request a direct meeting with your leaders. There is much we need to discuss." "About what?" asked the human diplomat, clearly surprised by the sudden ceasefire. "About how we have misunderstood your people," replied Deho. "And about a greater threat that may require both our civilization's unique strengths to face." As the orders spread through the fleet to stand down, Deho gazed at the blue planet. He would have to explain his decision to the Emperor. It would not be easy. But he now understood that humanity's value wasn't in their weapons, but in their incredible ability to innovate under pressure. That was a power the aging Raxian Empire desperately needed. Emperor Juno had never before set foot on a newly discovered world. For 12,000 years, the rulers of the Raxian Empire had received tribute and representatives from conquered planets. They never lowered themselves to visit these lesser worlds. Yet here he stood in the Grand Hall of the Human United Nations, his imperial guards looking nervously around the room filled with representatives from Earth's nations. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut. We appreciate your willingness to meet, Emperor Juno, said Secretary General Hannah, her voice firm despite the extraordinary situation. Though we would have preferred this conversation before your fleet attacked our planet. Juno nodded, acknowledging the rebuke. The misunderstanding was regrettable. Commander Deho has been wise to correct our error in judgment. Deho stood slightly behind his emperor, his posture straight but his inner feelings mixed. He had risked everything by stopping the attack, defying imperial protocol. Only the unexpected support of the emperor had saved him from disgrace or worse. You still haven't explained why you were so interested in our weapons technology, said the American representative. Or why you saw us as a threat. The emperor touched a control on his wrist device. A holographic display appeared in the center of the room, showing a dark mass moving at the galaxy's edge. The image was grainy, as if whatever was being shown actively resisted being recorded. This is why we were concerned about your weapons development, said Juno. This threat approaches all our worlds. The humans leaned forward, studying the strange darkness. What is it? Asked the Chinese representative. We don't fully know, admitted Juno, something no Raxian emperor had ever done before. Our scientists call them the Void. They consume energy, technology, even life itself. For 3 centuries, they have steadily advanced through distant systems. He paused, looking around the room. Our empire has existed for 12,000 years, he continued. In that time, we have grown, comfortable. Perhaps complacent. Our weapons technology has hardly changed in millennia. We have been unable to develop effective countermeasures against this new threat. Understanding dawned on the faces of the human leaders. You're not here to conquer us, said Secretary General Hannah. You're here to ask for our help. A partnership, corrected Juno. Your innovation combined with our resources and knowledge. The room buzzed with whispered conversations as Earth's leaders considered this unexpected proposal. Why should we trust you after you attacked us? Asked the Russian representative. Because we need each other to survive, replied Deho simply. Your world alone cannot stand against the Void. And our empire, for all its size, lacks your adaptive creativity. 6 months later, the first joint human-Raxian development facility opened on Earth's moon. Where once suspicion had reigned, now engineers and scientists from both species worked side by side, combining the methodical knowledge of the ancient Raxians with the innovative spark of humanity. Juno stood in the observation deck, watching humans and Raxians moving together through the facility. Beside him stood Secretary General Hannah. Your people approach problems unlike any species we've encountered, said Juno. Where we see one path forward, you see dozens. It's inefficient, sometimes chaotic, but the results. That's what you missed when you thought we were just weapon makers, replied Hannah. We don't love conflict. But our history of competition forced us to innovate or perish. In the laboratory below, a human scientist was demonstrating a new shield modulation technique to her Raxian colleagues. The Empire's shields had remained unchanged for 1,000 years, while humans had developed dozens of competing defense systems in just a century. Throughout the galaxy, your world is becoming known as the Forge, said Juno. Not because you make weapons, but because you create solutions no one else imagines. 1 year after the first contact, a new joint fleet gathered at the edge of the solar system. Ships of Raxian design now housed weapons and defense systems of human innovation. What neither species could create alone, they had forged together. On the bridge of the flagship stood Commander Deho alongside his human counterpart, Admiral Minji. The viewscreen showed the approaching darkness at the edge of a distant star system. The Void probes were spotted in the Centauri system, reported a Raxian officer. Moving faster than we anticipated. Minji nodded, checking the readiness reports from the fleet. The new weapons systems are online. Shield modifications complete. Are we ready? Asked Deho, looking at the human admiral. As ready as anyone can be for something unknown, Minji replied with a small smile. That's another human trait you'll get used to. We're never completely ready, but we go forward anyway. Deho found himself returning the smile. The universe will remember what we forged together. The fleet moved forward, human adaptability and Raxian power united against the darkness. Where once there had been misunderstanding between two species, now there was something new, an alliance that would reshape the galaxy.